Okay, so why do people get so uncomfortable around someone who thinks deeply? You have probably felt it yourself. You walk into a room, you speak with simple clarity. You see right through a polite lie. Suddenly the mood shifts. People pull back, they smile, but their eyes go cold. You are not trying to intimidate anyone. You are just being honest. You are just using your brain. Yet society treats your clarity like a threat. Most people think society hates intelligence because of simple envy. They think people just dislike smart elects. That is a comforting lie. It makes you feel superior. It keeps you safe from the real truth. The truth is much colder. Society does not fear your high IQ. It fears what your awareness exposes in them. Your very presence threatens the invisible lies that keep weak social structures alive. You are looking at a hidden psychological war. It happens every day in offices, families, and friendships. By the end of this video, you will see the exact mechanism that makes deep thinkers a target. The final piece of this puzzle will change how you view every conflict in your life. Look at how society actually functions on a daily basis. Most human systems are built on comfortable illusions. We live in a world of shared fiction. We tell ourselves that office politics are fair. We pretend that toxic family traditions are just harmless habits. We claim that popular opinions are based on logic. Carl Jung spoke about the collective shadow. He showed that societies protect their own blind spots at all costs. The crowd craves harmony over truth. It wants smooth interactions. It wants predictable behavior. Then you walk into the room. You do not buy the script. You ask a direct question. You spot the logical flaw in a group decision. You do not do it to be mean. You just see reality clearly. But to the group, you look like a destroyer. You are breaking the trance. Most people spend immense energy maintaining their denial. They build fragile identities around their rationalizations. When you reveal the truth, their fragile ego begins to crack. You force them to see what they spend all their life hiding. Consider how a deeply intelligent person acts in casual conversation. You probably skip the surface drama. You do not care about petty gossip. You want to talk about real ideas, motives, and underlying truths. You see patterns that others miss. Daniel Kahneman wrote extensively about human cognitive biases. He showed that most people rely on fast, automatic, lazy thinking. They use emotional shortcuts to navigate their day. Deep processing takes real energy. It demands mental exertion. It requires a willingness to be wrong. When you bring deep processing into a room of lazy thinkers, you create friction. You make them feel mentally tired just by existing. You represent extra work. While most people are content with surface explanations, you dig for the root cause. This instantly creates an uncomfortable gap. People sense that you are operating on a different wavelength. They realize you can see through their small performances. That realization triggers an immediate sense of exposure. They feel stripped of their social armor. This psychological threat triggers an ancient evolutionary defense mechanism. Human beings are group animals. For thousands of years, fitting into the tribe was a matter of life and death. Sigmund Freud explained how the ego uses defense mechanisms to protect itself from deep anxiety. When a group encounters a mind it cannot easily manipulate, it panics. The group cannot handle the threat of being exposed, so it turns on the source of the threat. Have you ever noticed how fast people label a sharp thinker as arrogant? They call you weird, distant, or cold. They say you are overthinking things. These labels are not random insults. They are precise projection shields. Projection is a classic dark psychology tactic. It allows the insecure person to transfer their own feeling of inadequacy onto you. By calling you arrogant, they avoid facing their own mental weakness. They make your clarity look like a personal character flaw. This allows the group to discard your insight without having to answer your questions. It protects their delicate peace of mind. Notice what happens to social hierarchies when an independent mind enters the room. Most social structures are not based on competence. They are based on emotional compliance. They are held together by mutual pacts of flattery and fake support. Robert Greene documented this thoroughly in his work on power dynamics. Power relies heavily on theatrical performance. Leaders often demand deference, not performance. Weak leaders surround themselves with yes-men who validate their fragile self-image. An intelligent person is a nightmare for a weak leader. You do not bow to unearned authority. You judge ideas on their merits, not on who spoke them. You do not play the expected psychological games. This makes you entirely unpredictable to people who rely on control. Weak leaders cannot leverage false praise to guide your behavior. They cannot play on simple insecurities you have already outgrown. Your mental independence looks like open rebellion to a fragile authority figure. They realize they cannot control your mind, so they work to isolate you from the group instead. This brings us deeper into the dynamic of social rejection. Why does society reward quiet conformity while punishing deep perception? Erich Fromm answered this in his work on human freedom. He explained that true freedom creates intense anxiety. Thinking for yourself requires taking personal responsibility for your choices. It means standing alone without the safety of the herd. Most people cannot bear that level of existential anxiety. They prefer what Fromm called the escape from freedom. They merge their identity into the crowd. They adopt pre-packaged beliefs. They accept standard life scripts without question. It feels safe inside the herd. When you choose to think independently, you reject their safe haven. You demonstrate that another way of living is possible. Your independent life proves that their conformity is a personal choice, not an absolute necessity. You become a living reminder of the freedom they traded away for basic comfort. Your very existence exposes their cowardice. Look at how this plays out in everyday relationships. You might find that people ask for your advice but then grow resentful when you give it. They claim they want an honest perspective. They say they value your sharp mind, but what they really want is simple validation. They want you to use your intellect to justify their bad decisions. When you offer a calm, objective analysis instead, they react with sudden anger. You refuse to participate in their self-deception. Friedrich Nietzsche wrote about the concept of ressentiment. This is a deep, bitter resentment that weak individuals hold toward those who possess real internal strength. The weak individual cannot build real mental strength of their own. So they try to drag the strong mind down to their level. They attack your tone. They criticize your delivery. They ignore the truth of your words and attack your personality instead. It is a desperate effort to regain emotional control over a situation they do not understand. This dynamic reveals a striking paradox in human behavior. Society claims to value innovation, intelligence, and truth. We build monuments to great historical thinkers. We teach their books in schools. But society only loves intelligent people after they are dead, or when their ideas can be turned into a product. In the present moment, live intelligence is deeply inconvenient. Live intelligence questions the current order. It disrupts profitable routines. It demands higher standards of evidence and moral consistency. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus noted that men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of things. Insecure people hold a view of the world that depends on willful blindness. They need simple answers to survive their day. Your complex understanding of reality shatters their simplistic worldview. You are asking them to step out of a warm, dark room into bright sunlight. Their immediate reaction is not gratitude. It is pain, followed by anger. Now we arrive at the deepest layer of this psychological phenomenon. This is the ultimate reason society pushes away the sharpest minds. It is not just about power, envy, or mental laziness. It is about emotional survival. The ultimate reason intelligent people frighten society is that you act as an unvarnished psychological mirror. When people look at you, they do not see you. They see everything they have suppressed within themselves. They see the questions they were too afraid to ask. They see the truths they were too weak to accept. They see the potential they traded away for cheap social approval. Your clarity acts as a clean, reflective surface. It shows their internal contradictions with terrifying precision. You do not even have to speak to trigger this reaction. Your silent observation is enough. Your choice not to join in shallow behavior is enough. They look at you and realize that their internal lives are built on sand. That realization creates an intolerable level of cognitive dissonance. To eliminate that inner pain, they must discredit the mirror. They must make you the problem. Understanding this dark dynamic changes everything about how you navigate the world. You stop taking social coldness personally. You realize that their reaction was never truly about you. It was always about their internal terror of self-awareness. You were simply the trigger that brought their hidden insecurities to the surface. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that he would meet with meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, and dishonest men. He knew these traits arose because those individuals could not distinguish good from evil. You cannot expect people living in denial to thank you for bringing them truth. Expecting applause from a crowd that values comfort over reality is a fundamental mistake. You must learn to stop seeking validation from systems designed to enforce mediocrity. Your mind is an asset, not a defect. The isolation you sometimes feel is not a punishment. It is the natural price of self-ownership. So how do you live with this reality without becoming bitter or retreating from the world entirely? You learn to master your presence. You stop throwing your deepest insights before people who only want shallow reassurance. You save your real depth for those few who have done the internal work to receive it. You learn the art of strategic silence. You let people keep their comfortable illusions when nothing vital is at stake. You do not need to correct every logical fallacy you hear in casual conversation. Preserve your mental energy for your own growth, your own projects, and your own life. You can move through society with quiet confidence. You do not need to intimidate anyone, nor do you need to hide your capability. You simply stand firmly in your own truth. You become the quiet center of clarity in a world driven by emotional noise. When you accept that your clarity will naturally make some people uncomfortable, you gain ultimate freedom. You stop shrinking yourself to make weak people feel safe. You stop apologizing for seeing things as they really are. You begin to seek out the small, rare group of individuals who value truth over comfort. These are the people who will not feel threatened by your light. They will use it to sharpen their own understanding. That is where real connection happens. That is where you find a true tribe. You leave behind the need for cheap approval from the crowd. You embrace the quiet dignity of a clear, independent mind. You move forward with steady strength. You step fully into your potential, completely unbothered by the quiet fears of a world that is still afraid to wake up.